In July 2008, I celebrated my 29th birthday. I just bought a condo. I was working out and looking good. And had a super cute boyfriend. And on top of all that awesomeness, I had just landed a great job. I'm a digital communications specialist, and I was stoked. And life was good. But by Friday of the first week of my new job, just 1 week after my 29th birthday, my life changed forever. I returned from lunch feeling weird, because I'd never felt how I was feeling right then. It was kind of like being dizzy, kind of like being out of it, and kind of like having an out-of-body experience all at the same time. And it was so strange that I laid down on the ground in front of all my new coworkers, and I didn't care. And I just laid there, and I was feeling like I was freaking out. And then suddenly this electric shock came up through my body, something I'd never felt before, and it was a lot like sticking your tongue on a 9-volt battery, but 100 times worse, and it was really painful. And then my right leg started jerking and moving around, and that kind of came up to my right arm, and it was moving really fast, and it really hurt, and the little part of me that was still conscious said, "What is this? I don't know what this is." And it hurt really bad, and then it spread to the left side of my body, and then I passed out. And hours later, I woke up in the hospital, and I was told I just had a very powerful seizure, and scans said I had a mass in my brain. And over a couple of days and some scans and tests, we were able to observe that the mass was growing, which meant it was malignant. They told me I had brain cancer. That's me, by the way. Real deal, in here. So if you're anything like me, you would be freaking out. I was like, what? Brain cancer? Isn't this a death sentence? Who has brain cancer and lives? I've never heard of anyone having brain cancer and living. Those stories aren't out there. What? Really? Brain cancer? Come on. And so instead of going home that weekend and celebrating my first week on the new job and hanging out with my super cute boyfriend, I had to make some fast decisions. I had to get my affairs in order. I had to write a will. I signed some form allowing my medical team to not revive me if my heart stopped beating. And they told me I had to have a brain surgery. And brain cancer is pretty serious. You don't have too many options. You don't get to decide, should we remove the whole brain or just part of the brain? You don't remove any of the brain because it's kind of important. And so, you got to go in and get as much tumor out as possible. So I had a brain surgery, and that was wild. They took out a piece of my skull, and my brain was exposed to the world for about 9 hours. Now keep in mind, I just started a brand new job. I didn't have any vacation days, had no sick leave, I didn't have medical insurance. So I had to rely a lot on my friends. They raised fundraisers for me and were able to pay for my health care. Someone signed me up for disability. I don't know how any of this happened because I just had brain surgery. And I was freaking out. Now keep in mind, this is 2008. And in the news was Senator Ted Kennedy. And he was having seizures. And he was diagnosed with brain cancer. So I thought, okay, if anyone's going to get through this, it's got to be him because he's a U.S. senator. He has access to the best health care in the world. And he's a Kennedy. He's going to do this. But he died. And so in order to get my thoughts out, I decided in all my tech nerdery to start a blog. And I'm going to write about what I was feeling. And I made a decision to put the settings on private. I didn't want people to read it. I didn't want my friends to know that I was really scared. I didn't want future employers, hopefully, to find it and not hire me one day. So I kept it to myself. And I wrote how I was feeling, and it was cathartic, and it was great. Meanwhile, the seizures were still happening. And then they were happening more often, and they were becoming more powerful. And then just a few months after my first brain surgery, I think I just gave it away because I said first brain surgery, but just a few months after my first brain surgery, there was a scan, and it showed that the tumor had grown back. And I was given two options, and But before I tell you them, I gotta tell you a little bit about my tumor. It's in this left side of my brain, and it's this area called the parietal lobe. Right next to that part of the lobe, there's a strip. It's called the sensory strip, and it deals with your sense of touch. Right next to that is an area called the motor strip, which deals with our ability to move, among other things. And so I was given a choice. I could have another brain surgery, but potentially be damaged in those areas and not be able to move and not walk, or I could not have a brain surgery and die from brain cancer. To me, the choice was clear. I'm going to have brain surgery again. And fortunately, things weren't so bad. I did have to relearn how to walk, but it only took a week because our brains are super smart. I had to relearn how to balance, and that only took 2 to 3 months because our brains are super smart. And I was damaged a bit on the right side of my body. I lost some of the sense of touch, but thanks to physical and occupational therapy, I was able to learn how to not run into things and also learn how to not burn myself while cooking. So all of that was great. But I decided I was feeling down because after that second brain surgery, I lost my job. And I don't blame them. And I decided I needed to talk to somebody. I wanted to talk to people who knew what I was going through. So I signed up for a cancer support group. This is where I was going to find my people. We were going to hang out and talk and trade war stories and talk smack about healthy people. This is going to be great. So I show up to the group, and there's people with all kinds of cancers there. There was colon cancer, ovarian cancer, lung cancer, breast cancer, you name it, they were there. Yes. And the conversation turned to me. I was really excited, and I said, "Hi, I'm Liz, and I have brain cancer." And I looked around at them, and they were looking at me like how you guys have been looking at me. And I don't really blame them, because less than 2% of all cancers are a brain cancer. There's no such thing as a good cancer, but brain cancer is just different. We have really specific needs. There's weird stuff going on in our heads. And I didn't feel like I could relate to anyone at the general cancer support group. So I decided I'm going to take matters into my own hands. I'm going to dust off that old blog. And I made a huge decision. I changed the settings from private to public. And now anyone could read what I'm putting out there. And I didn't hold back. I wrote whatever was in my mind. I didn't care if anybody saw it or heard it or felt offended. I talked about what I was scared of. I was scared of seizures and brain surgery number 1. I'm scared of brain surgery number 2. I'm scared I might die. And I also talked about the good things too. That my super cute boyfriend is making me Kung Pao chicken for dinner. And he's taking me to Disneyland. Because that's awesome. Who doesn't like Space Mountain? So I'm writing all this stuff, and I'm a total nerd, so I'm on the back end of the website too, and I'm like, check out all these people who are reading my blog. I got all these clicks, and look at this. I got visitors from all these places I've never been, someone from Australia and Japan and Germany and North Dakota, like all over the place. And I was like, all these clicks, all these readers, sweet. And then one day, it dawned on me that these were not clicks. These are people. These are people who are searching the internet for people who have brain cancer that are still alive, and they're finding me. That's what I was dealing with just a few months earlier. And they were communicating to me too. They were reaching out to me through Facebook and through Twitter and through the comments in my blog, and they were telling me things that really got to me. They said, "Thank you for the reminder that it's okay for me to be scared. My doctor says to live my life normally. I don't know what normal is anymore. Finding your blog has been so informative, supportive, and courageous. I could not have done it without you." And while I was writing things that meant something to them, they were giving me something back. Meant a whole hell of a lot more. Only 1 out of every 3 adults diagnosed with brain cancer today will be alive in 5 years. And out of the remaining 1/3 of us, just a few are lucky enough to get a job and return back to normal life, like I have. When I was first diagnosed, I was freaking out. I thought I had a death sentence on me. I didn't know anyone who had brain cancer. But now it's been about 5 years since my first seizure. I've just passed that median survival time for my diagnosis. Yeah. And that super cute boyfriend is now my super cute husband. I still wake up every day thinking, oh my God, I have brain cancer. But I know it's my duty and it's an honor to be able to tell the story of brain cancer survivors. I think it's important. And what I once thought was a personal, private story, I now know it does a lot more good being out in the world. And now you can say you know somebody who's living with brain cancer. Thank you.